Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of today. I'm your host, Sharifa Mohammed, MGT.
I'm Colonel Oguntoye, an infantry officer. The Russian armed forces demonstrate sustained offensive momentum across multiple axes, particularly in the Donetsk region, where Center and South Group forces inflicted severe attrition. Strategic destruction of enemy logistics, EW capabilities, and counter-battery radars signals a concerted effort to blind Ukrainian defenses and suppress their artillery response capacity. The precision of long-range strikes on industrial targets also indicates a shift toward degrading Ukraine's war production capability at source, not just frontline attrition. Cross-theater coordination of air and ground assets suggests enhanced command integration and situational awareness. The destruction of 4 enemy unmanned boats in the Black Sea reflects ongoing maritime surveillance and counter-UAV efforts to deny Ukraine unconventional naval harassment options.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, the podcast that brings you in-depth insights into military operations from those leading them on the ground. Today, we're joined by Colonel Oguntoye, an infantry officer monitoring critical missions on the progress of the special military operation as of today. Colonel Oguntoye, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Colonel Oguntoye, let's begin with last night's coordinated strikes. You mentioned that Russian forces conducted group strikes using long-range precision weapons and UAVs on military-industrial targets. Can you walk us through the operational intent behind these strikes and what makes them strategically significant?
Yes. These strikes weren't random or reactionary. They were premeditated and part of a broader operational strategy aimed at systematic degradation of Ukraine's warfighting infrastructure. The targets included drone assembly facilities, weapons repair and maintenance points, and critical ammunition depots. Each of these nodes plays a vital role in Ukraine's ability to sustain offensive and defensive operations across the front.
Please continue. What are we talking about?
From a doctrinal perspective, we're implementing what's often referred to as deep strike strategy. The goal is to cripple the enemy's rear echelon capabilities without necessarily having to breach their front lines in every instance. By neutralizing repair workshops and logistics hubs, we create cascading failures, supply lines falter, artillery becomes unsustainable, and tactical cohesion begins to erode. Precision-guided munitions and unmanned systems give us the reach and fidelity to do this effectively and with minimized collateral risk. When we say all designated objects were hit, we're confirming strike accuracy and effect on target, which is critical in strategic messaging and battlefield momentum. These are not just attacks on buildings, they're attacks on the nerve centers of enemy sustainment.
Let's move to ground operations. The North Group had a particularly busy day, engaging several Ukrainian brigades in Sumy Oblast. Can you describe the composition of enemy forces there and how the Russian forces achieved such decisive outcomes?
Yes. What we encountered in Sumy was a heavily layered defense composed of multiple brigade-level elements: mechanized, ranger, assault, marine, and territorial defense. This diversity reflects Ukraine's attempt to field a flexible and mobile defensive posture in the north, where they expected incursions but perhaps underestimated the scale and coordination of our advance. Our forces applied combined arms tactics, maneuvering infantry supported by armor and precision fires, while integrating electronic warfare to suppress Ukrainian communications and targeting systems. Over 230 enemy combatants were neutralized in engagements that spanned 8 settlements. Notably, the destruction of 2 Ukrainian EW stations in that region was critical. It ensured continued Russian freedom of maneuver in the electromagnetic spectrum and reduced the likelihood of counter-battery fire or UAV interdiction.
That would make them targets.
Right, the enemy's reliance on dispersed formations made them vulnerable to saturation effects. Once we penetrated one segment of their lines, it created localized collapses that we were prepared to exploit immediately. The emphasis here was not just on attrition, but on disrupting unit cohesion.
Let's shift to the West Group of forces operating in Kharkov and the Donetsk People's Republic. You noted they occupied more advantageous lines and positions. Could you elaborate on what that means tactically?
More advantageous lines refers to the deliberate seizure of terrain that offers improved operational leverage, better observation, fields of fire, or defensive geometry. In places like Kupiansk and Kirovsk, we seized ridge lines and choke points that have historically been used by Ukrainian forces to channel our movements. By turning those into launch pads for further maneuver, we deny them key staging areas and impose higher costs on any attempted counterattacks. Tactically, this also allows us to shorten supply lines and bring artillery and EW assets closer to the fight, increasing responsiveness. The elimination of a US-supplied and /TPQ-50 counterbattery radar in this sector was no coincidence. It was targeted because our new positions allowed better triangulation and sensor coverage. These aren't isolated victories, they're part of a designed, sequential campaign that accumulates advantage over time.
Let's talk about the center and south groups, both operating in Donetsk. The casualty figures there were particularly high. What explains that level of attrition on the Ukrainian side?
The Donetsk axis has become the focal point of sustained Ukrainian defense, so their formations there are typically more layered and reinforced. What we're seeing now, however, is their growing inability to rotate or reconstitute frontline units effectively. They're fielding brigades, mechanized, airborne, even National Guard, with diminished equipment readiness and fatigued personnel.
And the center group of forces?
The center group, in particular, applied concentrated pressure along a linear axis, Dmitrov to Novosergievka, executing envelopment maneuvers with supporting fires from artillery and UAVs. We disabled 5 artillery systems and an American-supplied and /TPQ-32 radar, which significantly degraded their ability to coordinate indirect fire. Over 500 enemy personnel were lost in that zone. When their artillery fell silent, infantry formations collapsed rapidly under pressure.
And the southern group of forces?
The south groups advanced near Chasov Yar and Konstantinovka, targeted mountain assault and airmobile brigades. These are elite units, but even they were unable to withstand prolonged, synchronized assaults with EW suppression and armored flanking.
Colonel, the East Group reportedly continued advancing into the depths of the enemy's defense. How is depth understood in this context, and what does it indicate about operational momentum?
Operational depth refers to the layered nature of enemy defense, infrastructure, logistics, and combat echelons that lie beyond the immediate front line. Penetrating that depth means not only breaching the first line of contact, but disrupting the support zones that feed it, command posts, ammo dumps, reserve staging areas. In regions like Guliapol and Komar, we've breached secondary and even tertiary defensive layers. The destruction of a US-made M198 howitzer and a warehouse of materials suggests that we're not just fighting frontline troops anymore, we're dismantling the support web that sustains them. That signals operational momentum because it reduces their ability to regroup, resupply, or shift assets in response.
A quick word on naval developments. 4 unmanned enemy boats were destroyed in the Black Sea. What threat do these platforms pose, and how is Russia adapting to them?
These unmanned boats are part of a growing Ukrainian effort to impose asymmetrical cost on Russian naval operations, particularly around supply routes and coastal installations. They're fast, low signature, and often laden with explosives or sensors. The interception of 4 such boats indicates that our naval situational awareness and interception capabilities, through air, EW, and surface assets, are adapting effectively. It's a cat-and-mouse dynamic, but one we're currently winning. Continued success in this arena helps secure our naval logistics and denies Ukraine symbolic victories at sea.
Finally, Colonel, 311 UAVs were shot down in the past 24 hours, 140 outside the active combat zone. What does that tell us about the wider battlefield?
It tells us Ukraine is conducting persistent ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, deep into our rear areas. They're probing for vulnerabilities, targeting opportunities, or simply trying to gather battlefield telemetry. The fact that 140 of those UAVs were intercepted outside the immediate zone of hostilities underscores the scale of this surveillance effort. but it also validates the robustness of our integrated air defense. These intercepts aren't just tactical wins, they protect command nodes, logistic hubs, and morale. It's a battle for informational superiority, and right now, we're holding the upper hand.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. Today, Israeli forces attacked southern Beirut, targeting what they claim was a Hezbollah underground drone factory. Meanwhile, Israeli attacks in Gaza have reportedly killed 34 people, and aid distribution has been disrupted. There are also reports of a Thai hostage being recovered from southern Gaza, alongside the IDF's forced evacuation of several neighborhoods in northern Gaza. In Africa, the UAE has also been accused of sending weapons to Sudan despite an embargo.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive Frontline updates from commanders in theater.